to introduce Professor Gerson Damiani from Universidade de São Paulo, who is going to present a talk, and his talk is connected to the creation of a peace engineering hub based upon a triple helix model, an empirical perspective. So, Professor Damiani, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Hugo. Here I have a summary of the points I'm going to talk about today. First and foremost, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Good morning to everyone. I know that this early morning is always a challenge here to be one of the first ones to speak. So in the order of my presentation, I'll be talking about the creation and development of GLIP. GLIP is the Global Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution at the School of Engineering at the University of São Paulo. And this has been created as a platform for ESG criteria on environmental, social responsibility, and governance criteria. And I'm going to address an initiative, a sample initiative that we have at GLIP, which is our Conflict Resolution Center. It's a center that offers opportunities for different mechanisms of conflict resolution nationally and internationally. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the triple helix model, which we have been applying quite widely to the works done at GLIP, and examples of initiatives and cooperation that we have developed over time. Depois eu vou abrir para perguntas. Quem quiser fazer perguntas em português também, fica à vontade, tá? Okay. So the Global Institute for Peace was initially created in 2015 as a lab. And I started this work with Professor José Roberto Cardoso, who introduced me to Ramiro here. And we started as a lab at the School of Engineering, Poly USP. And to support extension activities within the School of Engineering. At that time, the School of Engineering was concerned to bring a little bit more human sources, a little bit more of the humanities to engineering. So that was the onset, that was the motivation factor. And so to understand what are the contemporary needs, but also looking into the future of an all-around inclusive society. So what are the needs of this society of the future? And it has developed almost 10 years later into a hub for peace engineering within the University of São Paulo. And I'm very happy to be here talking to more people involved in a similar initiative. And we do quite a bit, even though we are involved mostly in extension activities, we also have researchers. We have about 10 researchers internally, bachelor's, master's, doctoral, and postdoctoral levels, and fostering ESG criteria for the benefit of sustainable goals. So, so if I give you an example right now of a sample initiative that I mentioned, CRC with the logo up there, I mentioned to some of you my alma mater, my origin is international law. So even though I'm at the School of Engineering, my area of expertise is international law, particularly international dispute resolution. So I'm going to explain this very briefly to you because this is not the main focus of this presentation. Extrajudicial mechanisms. What does that mean? That you don't use the private justice. You don't go to courts for that. So you have very well-established mechanisms in Brazil and worldwide to solve conflicts. Some of those that you may know is mediation. Mediation is something that you're involved on a day-to-day basis. Even Brazilian courts have introduced mediation as the first step to start resolving a dispute. But for engineers, I think the very, very important is arbitration and international arbitration. International arbitration has the force of law. So there are conventions by the United Nations and laws in most countries in the world that deal with commercial law. Of course, you can't use arbitration for every aspect of the law. You can't use it for a family law. You can't use it for criminal law. But for the purpose of infrastructure projects, for the sale of goods or services, most projects nowadays, I'll give you an example, the construction of a subway line or of a bridge or roads or an airport or harbor, all of this generally today would involve international arbitration. That means that the parties involved to a contract, they have to agree from the onset that if they have a dispute, that dispute will go to an arbitration court and not to a private court. Why do some parties choose for that? First, it's quicker. It's more expedited, the decisions, you know, like an arbitration, international arbitration court, you can generally sort or solve a dispute within 6 months, right? It's confidential. So let's say you're building a subway line in Sao Paulo and all of a sudden there are conflicts, disputes between parties. If you go to private justice, that could stay there for 10 years or 12 years. If you go to a court of arbitration, you can solve it very quickly. You will not make big fuss in the press, and you'll continue working with your other partners, so it's not litigious. You know, the idea of arbitration is to sort the problem out instead of being litigious. And so what do the parties do when they decided to go into arbitration? They write in their initial contract, okay, if we have a dispute, it will be sorted out by international arbitration, and then you say, what language, what country, what is the arbitration court? So you have, the parties have the freedom to choose how this arbitration is going to take place, okay? So this is one possibility to go into arbitration. A second possibility is what we call ad hoc arbitration, which you didn't have a clause, an arbitral clause in your contract, but when you come to the controversy, the parties say, you know, let's not go to a private court, let's to a public court, let's sort this out through arbitration. So in sum, it's the will of the parties. If the parties want to choose this as a mechanism to sort out, to solve their conflicts, they're open to do so. And another one that is very, very relevant these days for engineers, and that's why our work at the School of Engineering is very important, so that engineers realize what are the mechanisms available to them, not only to solve conflicts, but to avoid conflict, are the dispute boards. So how many of you are familiar with dispute boards? Just so I know. Dispute boards is a relatively new mechanism that in a larger engineering project these days, you form a board composed of 3 or 5 board members that are experts in the area of that specific initiative, of that specific project. So, for instance, if you're building a bridge, you would have a civil engineer. You almost always have an accountant, you know, you have like a legal person. So you have people who are real experts in the area that you're handling. And these people will follow your full project. So from the onset, even before you sign the contract, after you sign the contract, up all the way up until conclusion, and they start looking for possible conflicts, for possible controversies. When you start noticing, okay, this payment is delayed, or this materials being used for the construction are not compatible with the agreement. So you already address some of those issues before they become a conflict. So it's the prevention of conflict. And I think this is really important because you don't want to arrive at conflict. You want to prevent conflict. So these dispute boards globally right now, North America, Europe, Middle East, Asia, South America, Africa, they have been very much implemented for larger engineering projects, and also investment banking has been using that quite a bit. So let me give you an example just so you understand how this is supported by international law. I'm talking here about CISG. CISG is the Convention on International Sales of Goods and Services. This is a convention written by the United Nations Commission on Trade Law. They started to develop this after World War II, and they concluded that in 1980. So these countries in green are all the countries that signed this convention with the United Nations. So this convention has force of law, of domestic law in these respective countries. So if you sign an international convention, it works as if it were domestic law in your own country. So for instance, some ratified the convention in 1980s. Brazil was a little bit later. Brazil ratified this convention completely in 2014. Even though Brazil was there in the drafting of the contract, it ratified in 2014. So if, let's say, Chile and Australia are having an infrastructure project, and those two countries, is it going? Yeah. Those two countries decided that they're building this immense tunnel within the city of Santiago, right? And they sign an agreement to say, okay, if there's any conflicts, we'll sort it out by international arbitration. Because those two countries are members of the CISG, they can use that regime to oversee their legal concerns or the legal conflicts that they may have in the future. One difference between this and public law, I mean national public law, you know, the judges that wear like those fancy clothes, is that you cannot appeal. So an arbitration decision is final. There's no appealing court for that. And how do you guarantee that this decision is enforced? It's enforced through the other convention, the New York Convention of 1958, which is also a UN mechanism that these countries have signed to agree on the enforcement of international arbitral awards. So if an international arbitration comes to a decision to say, okay, so the Chile is going to get $1 billion in damages, first of all, you cannot appeal that, and then they can enforce because of that other convention, so it's enforceable. How is an international arbitration panel formed? Because it's very important that it's neutral. So you have one party nominates one arbitrator, the second party nominates a second arbitrator, and the two arbitrators nominate the president of the arbitral tribunal, and the decision is upon majority, right? I mean, if you nominate an arbitrator, it doesn't mean that it's your arbitrator. Your arbitrator can decide against you, but it's someone of your confidence, okay? Is it clear so far? So now, let me talk a little bit more about dispute boards. I'm not going to get too much into this, but a dispute board is to avoid that you even arrive at a situation of international arbitration, because you're following the project from the beginning, and then you talk to the parties throughout the way to make sure that you don't even need to access an arbitration court. You don't even need to come to this resolution of a conflict. I mean, you're already seeing that the conflict is in the horizon, and you address it, you talk to the parties, and I say, see, this is not going to go right. Let's make adjustments right now. But in case the dispute board does not have that success in solving the conflict, you can continue going to the other mechanisms. You can end up in an arbitration. So you still have that resort. But the idea is that you don't arrive at a conflict, and they're more than 90% effective that way. The triple helix model, I'm sure most of you are familiar with that. At the university, we've been applying that to different areas. I invite you to come to the University of São Paulo, whoever is in Brazil. At the end of June, we will have a Triple Helix International Conference. This is a model that started in the 1995 around, and it's been developing quite swiftly. They used to have, the Triple Helix International Association used to have biannual conferences, and now they have annual conferences all over the world. And this year, end of June, is going to take place in São Paulo. It talks about how the university has to relate as in this realm, this triple helix realm with governments, with the public sphere, and with the industry. So you see, the university is there to produce new ideas, to produce innovation, to produce knowledge. And then the government, the industry is there to provide, most of the times, financing or empirical experiences with what type of development is required. And the government is supposed to balance this relationship out in a way of sometimes funding through public money to reducing taxes or tax incentives. So this triple helix model is a way that is very much applicable to peace engineering in a way that the university can't do it by itself, because first of all, you need the demand of society. The demand of society comes through history, and you need the support of the government for public policies, for the implementation of new innovation ideas and technology, and for the motivation also for this whole spectrum to work. So today we affirm that we're living in an era of sustainability, right? So what does that mean? What is sustainable? Sometimes I see, flights, and some airlines advise, okay, this is a green flight. I mean, how can that be green, right? But it's an idea of how much further you're moving into worrying about the environment and social responsibility. And so that's where you start with the whole idea of carbon credits. I know some people who are very skeptical about carbon credits because, okay, so you are a huge company in the United States and you can emit as much CO2 in the atmosphere as you want, and then you buy a piece of land in the Amazon and it's all good. This is not the real idea behind it. The idea is that you develop technologies that are truthfully protective of the environment and really of social justice. So with social responsibility, right? So I'm going to go very briefly here through the evolution of through the centuries. So we arrive at this era of sustainability that we talk about. As you know, first industrial revolution is when we had steam, and back then, you weren't even thinking about how much damage, how much pollution you would create in the world. And then you go to the second industrial revolution, which is the time of electricity and assembly lines. We're talking here about early 20th century. Then you come to the third industrial revolution. You're talking about automation, computers, and connected networks. We're talking about the 70s decade, all the way until arriving at the fourth industrial revolution, which we call 4.0. These days, which is now when we're dealing with issues of artificial intelligence and interconnectivity. So now towards the future. So right now that we have all the knowledge over the past century or so, how are you going to use this knowledge that you have, of course, with much more population globally? Those more than 100 years that we went through right now, the population of the planet Earth has increased immensely and the resources reduced. So right now you need the creative ideas, you need technology, you need innovation to make sure that you use less resources and you share those resources more responsibly in a more inclusive manner, and also protective of the resources that you have, right? So here, Eder is going to help me a little bit. I'm going to show just a little bit of examples and initiatives that we have at the university, at the School of Engineering through GLIP. Eder, você consegue clicar no icon no GLIP para mim, por favor? Se você clicar em cima do logo, ele vai abrir a página, tá? Ah, tá. Tá bom. Dá para colocar um pouquinho mais? Tá. So here are some examples of projects. We just recently had the Symposium on Social Responsibility Through Innovation. We're working on Club de Madrid. Club de Madrid is a think tank that has prime ministers, presidents, and chiefs of government and state from all over the world. And so here are some examples. We had just this week seminars on social corporate, on corporate digital responsibility, education in engineering. I think Professora Roseli from Poly USP is going to talk about that too. And Latin America and the world. And then here we have, for instance, oops, too much. Você consegue subir a tela pouquinho? A tela. So Gender and peace, so gender inclusion. This is one of some of the focal points of the research we do today. So inclusivity of gender and diversity. We are also working with indigenous populations in the Amazon and in the state of São Paulo. You'll be surprised how many autochthonous populations live in the state of São Paulo, people who still speak their original languages. And so we talk about data management, and then there we talk about dispute resolution. We worked with the United Nations on their 75th anniversary and also with UN Women. If you, você consegue clicar ali em notícias, vamos ver se aqui. Notícias não. Do lado deveria ter um menu do lado esquerdo, que não está aparecendo, né? Aí, videoteca. So we are a hub for research papers, and also, so here we have, for instance, so like that lecture on abundance, you know, living in a world of information plenty. COVID, we talk about health as well. And then we have here, the first time we approached with Amiro, we had Amiro in 1922 talk about introducing the subject of peace engineering. We organized TED talks at the university. We had just recently, se você conseguir clicar também naquele botão de novo, do lado, tem um que se chama ESG, lá mais para cima um pouco. Tem um que se chama Fórum ESG, tá vendo lá em cima? Isso, mais um pouco, isso aí. We organized an ESG forum using that triple helix model. We had universities, private sector, and governments participate in that. And so this is available. This is the second forum. So we have here everything that was discussed and our supporters, okay? And then just to conclude, vamos voltar para aquele botão da Ambev. We have been working quite a bit with the private sector to help finance some of these initiatives. And it's not only a matter of financing, it's also a matter of bringing some empirical experience for some of our researchers to have data to process some of to answer some of the questions that have been asked. This is a cooperation that's being ambitioned with Ambev. Ambev is a beverages company, one of the largest in Brazil. So Atafona. So here they are financing coastal erosion projects. So coastal erosion alongside the coast of Brazil. So you see through climate change. And so you have a lot of these coastal communities and areas that are being devastated. And what is a huge concern for that? Social responsibility, because some of these communities, some of these inhabitants, they have been displaced of their reason to live in that area, right? So it's not only getting the full community and putting people in different apartment buildings spread out. It's about what does that mean for a culture? What does that mean for a nation? So here you see some examples. This here is in Espírito Santo. So you see how the water is invading. And this is a project that we are developing together with them. This is the area where it happens. It's north of Rio de Janeiro and south of Espírito Santo. So this whole bay region is being overflowed. And some other projects that we have with swamps in Santos. They're losing their natural capabilities, you know, their ecosystems. We have Ambev, they produce beer in Brazil, so they're finding ways of producing more sustainable beer. And they're using, in some parts of Brazil, they're using caju or some other plants to produce the ingredients that they need to produce beer in a more sustainable manner. And Iguape here too. This is in the state of São Paulo, and it's been an incredibly polluted region that they are trying to find technology and innovation in a way that they will reduce pollution in the area. We also have one in Santa Catarina. This is the one that I was talking to Tanya recently. This is an area where they had, let me see if I can get up here. So this used to be a region where the water used to circulate, and they closed off, near where you see Ilha da Rita, they closed off to build a road. So they interrupted the circulation of water, and that has completely changed the environment. And that was some 40 years ago. So the catastrophe is being seen little by little how that's happening. So now you need a lot of engineer work to come back to what it was. And you can't just take it out again, because it could even have more catastrophic consequences. So what they're doing, they're building tunnels through that road that's being built to slowly find the flow of water, the flow of fishery, and the environment and plants, and bringing back populations they used to live off fishing in that region. So you need a lot of technology, a lot of innovation to think about how you can recompose that destroyed ecosystem, right? So you see how, like, some of these areas are disappearing, the water is just overflowing. Ok, então vamos para a última página agora da apresentação. And we have similar projects like this one. I just gave you one example. And this is what I had to tell you. So thank you for the patience, and I'm here to talk to you, hear ideas, and see if you have any questions or comments. Thank you very much.
Questions? Yes, please. Questions? Ramiro. Yeah.
Thank you, Gerson. Last time I was here, we talked about the conflict that we have between New Mexico and Texas, which is water. It's related to water. So that's between the two states. There's a lot of lawsuits. It went to the Supreme Court. In New Mexico, we lost $50 million just in legal fees. It has not been resolved. Now the conflict is a little bit more interesting, because Mexico needs water. The city of Mexico is running out of water, and I think this week or next week, they're just out. 27 million people. So it's a big deal. So now this conflict between the states, now it's international. So this conflict resolution thing, and it's a lot of engineering. Yeah. And we're not really disseminating the importance of now engineering in solving problems. The problem also, and we work with Bernard Amadei, he was in Israel, and the big problem, besides the war, water issues between Palestinian and Israel. So that's another international thing. And again, it requires a lot of engineering. All I want to say is, yes, we do a lot of high tech. Okay, we may need high tech to also solve these kind of problems. Thank you, Jason.
Very much so, Ramiro. Thank you for bringing this issue. Ideally, you wouldn't wait until a situation like Israel and Palestine to try to solve that, because when you're already escalated conflict, it's always more difficult to sort problems. Like a divorce, you don't work on your marriage when you're in front of a divorce lawyer. You work on the marriage throughout the way, from the beginning and continuously. And so this, because I mean, maybe some of the difficulties that you're having right now with Mexico, that could be implied to the United States in the future. So you should start talking about conflict resolution together with technology, and that's where the triple helix comes, you know, with private investors. I'm sure that in this conflict there are private companies, water management companies involved as well. So you need to have a very impetus, very strong effort to make sure that you bring the parties together and start discussing from the onset, a dispute board style. How are we going to avoid for this conflict to escalate and make sure that everyone else benefits from it? Because if the situation in Mexico is not ideal, I mean, if you think about the free trade agreements that Mexico has with the US and Canada. There's implications for everyone. There's implications as far as the export and import of goods, populations, migration questions. So ideally, together with technology and innovation, you bring common sense and get all the parties on the table and start discussing it from the beginning.
Yes. More questions? Yeah. Gerson, I have would you describe a particular example, but practical example of how these all these issues, legal issues, can be conducted? For instance, if you have a specific example involving a case of a study and a particular company.
With a legal issue?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's say the subway line number 4 in São Paulo, the yellow line, is some of the subway lines in São Paulo are 100% public, but recently they're starting to have PPPs, public-private partnerships. So the last 3 or 4 subway lines are being built on this perspective, right? So, for instance, the line number 4 in São Paulo had the support of São Paulo government. It had the support of Germany, German companies, and Korea. And about a decade ago, we had a huge accident, and as they were building one of the subway stations, it completely fell down. It was on Marginal Tietê. For those who know São Paulo, it was a huge, huge accident. So there were cases of death, so that it has to go to public justice, because it's criminal law. But as far as delays are concerned, because the state has the responsibility to deliver at a certain date, the longer it lasts for the delivery of a project, the more costly it becomes. So they accessed the arbitration court that they had signed an arbitral clause in their agreement, and it's the ICC of Paris, the International Chamber of Commerce of Paris, is one of the largest arbitration courts in the world, together with LCIA in London, the Milan, AAA in the United States. Singapore is a very large one too. Brazil, Canada, and Brazil. So they went to this court and they sorted out their losses. So they had to have specialists to come and find out, why did it collapse? Was it the quality of the material that was being used that collapsed? Did they not pay enough attention in auditing the construction work that was being done? So within a short period of time, and in the confidentiality, so you don't see that in the press, in confidentiality, they found out what were the reasons. The other party that was damaged received payments in damage for that, and they moved on with their project, and the subway line was delivered and it functions perfectly today.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Yes. Oh, you have a question. The last one.
Thank you for your nice presentation. I would like to know about how peace engineering deals or manage patent and IP issues. First one. The second one is, are you familiar with the new PEC on the Congress about the beaches, Brazilian beaches? Are you involved with this law problem?
Well, one of the things about GLIP that we, in peace engineering in general, I was also talking to Professor Tanya Bueno about this, is how interdisciplinary it has to be for it to work. I mean, you really have to have people involved from different areas of knowledge. So we have people from our oceanography department involved in this initiatives and in this domains that you just mentioned, even these examples that I have given of coastal erosion. So we go to our oceanography and biology departments, and you have people and experts to come and help us out with those areas that you're not familiar with, right? And your first point was about patents. And the president of the CRC, our conflict resolution, she is Professor Maristela Basso, and she is an expert in intellectual property and patents. It's a very complex issue itself. So, I mean, I would be glad to put you in contact with her, and she would be able to address some of those patent and IP issues very precisely. Okay, we have right now one of our most current examples, going back to Hugo. I don't know if you know, but it's been approved. It's been planned for almost a century right now, but now it's been approved and it is in the process of tender for bids, licitação, to build a tunnel in Santos. And this tunnel is going to be built between the city of Santos and Guarujá, where you have a ferry boat right now. And it's a very large project because that's where the boats, it's the largest harbor, the largest port in Brazil. So for a short distance, you have to be a very, very deep tunnel. And so you can imagine how much that affects not only the ocean and biology in the area, but also questions of intellectual property and the development of innovation in that area, and the innovation that's going to be applied to building that harbor. One other example that we have for that, we work together with a group in Miami that's called Emerge Americas, and they support startups and unicorns in the Americas. And through the University of Miami, with whom we have a cooperation, they come to Brazil and other countries in the Americas every year, and then we run what's a seminar, an event, a conference where people make pitches of ideas for new inventions. And so what happens there, they pick the 3 that they find most relevant or most promising, and they bring it to meet angel investors in the United States to help finance the project. So they pick about 3 a year. And obviously, the whole issue of intellectual property is very important there.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Professor Gerson, for the excellent talk. And so let's move, please applause this. Yeah, so let's go.
We are thinking about organizing at the university.
Well, this is my issue now. And then I receive an invitation. So I'm here. It's not working. Okay. They call me to talk about peace engineering and also about popular engineering. And they say, well, you have to have a text in English. So I try to select some of papers that I wrote in the past in order to send to this man here. And there is no much papers in English, but I select one of them about the concept of solidary technoscience that could be interesting for you. And I try to summarize the paper. It was very difficult to do that. So I just pick up some of the main ideas and put in a presentation. And now those are the 6 sections of the paper. And I will ask you a favor. So sit here, and each one of you will read one slide, because my English is very poor. And I want you to follow the text. So each one that could read in English will give me this support. So this is the first person. Go ahead.
Okay. Can I read?
Sure,
Yep.
that's the idea.
The development strategies based on the use of capitalist technoscience in countries on the periphery of capitalism have proven increasingly ineffective.
Okay? If there is some doubt, please raise your hand. No, the other collaborator. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This appraisal result from a participative research I have been involved since more than 4 decades ago, adopting the approach of the Latin American thought in science, technology, and society, founded in the 1970s, concerned with resourcing the the S&T, Science and Technology, Latin American potential to overcome underdevelopment, dependency, and inequality.
So this is the main conceptual analytical framework that we use here in our department related to science and technology policy founded in the 80s.
The driving force behind this text is related to another objective that complements the one above, that of confronting social exclusion and unemployment by conceiving technoscientific knowledge for the production of goods and services in the economic productive arrangements that sprout in the informal sector of Latin American countries.
So this is related to imperative. It's related to geostrategic issues. And this one is related to the internal situation in Brazil, unemployment, famine, and so on. Okay? And this economic productive arrangements that sprout in the informal sector of Latin American countries, which means solidary economy, economia solidária.
This set of production and consumption networks based on collective ownership of the means of production and self-management that seeks to expand and acquire sustainability within the framework of a peripheral capitalist economy. And which now constitutes the solidarity economy, seems to be the embryo of effective social inclusion.
So this is my focus, solidary economy, okay?
This one?
Go ahead.
Okay. This text advances a reflection on the concept of solidarity technoscience. I began to outline in the book Neutrality of Science and Technological Determinism, a debate on technoscience, Danino, 2008, which I have used to formulate an analytical conceptual framework for the conception of a cognitive launcher platform for the solidarity economy.
Okay. So this is the introduction. Now we go to the second point. Okay? Science and technology, knowledge for the production of goods and services, and technoscience. This is a very, how to say, well, let's see, please.
Okay. The reflection about the knowledge used by mankind for the productions of goods and services leads me to consider the usually accepted separation between science on the one hand and technology on the other as inconvenient.
Okay? Inconvenient. I don't believe in this separation. This is a kind of ideological manipulation. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
And also the common sense supported by the separation, that technology is the application of science, the intrinsically good truth that continuously advances, universal and neutral.
So this is the idea of science. Intrinsically good, universal and neutral.
In the continue?
Go ahead, please.
Okay. In the sense of not contaminated by interests and values, to produce more, cheaper, and better to safety needs of society. But that sometimes due to the use of science already generated by obscure interests. Without ethics, technology can cause evil.
So this is the mainstream, concept about science and technology. Science is neutral, but technology could be used for the evil or for the good, for the well-being.
This notion, which is based on the idea that the Cartesian ideal of a comprehensive and rational understanding of reality should exist with the Baconian, of the control of nature at the service of humanity, has begun to be questioned within the scope of scholars of the modern Western tradition of science and technology studies, STS.
So this is an object of dispute between scientific communities in the Western and also in Latin America, And so I take part of one of these, currents that intervene in this debate. Please.
This separation no longer corresponds to the growing imbrication that exists between science and technology, and that the locational and temporal cleavage that understood the former as carried out in the university in search of the truth and not in the company in search of profit and for a future of uncertain outlines and not for its immediate application.
So 70% of the total R&D costs are applied in enterprises, in firms, companies, corporations, and 70% of this 70% in multinationals. 7 vezes. Times 7 is 49. 50% of the whole R&D is performed in multinationals. I don't know. You have to judge. I am just giving you some information, And then the 30% that is made in universities and in the public sector is also profoundly related to the demands of the firms. So this is the situation. I don't know if it's good or not. Oh, I know, but I will not say to you now. No, you have to conclude. So go ahead.
Is that okay? In fact, the term technoscience is more adherent to the observed reality and more appropriate to analyze the global dynamics of innovation, which is powered by large corporations, but also involves public education and research organizations.
There is a lot of multinationals that have Nobel Prizes and their staff. Nobel Prizes in what? In science. What are they doing there? Firms do technology, not science, but they are employed there. They earn money in a firm, but they are Nobel Prize in science. So this is one of the reasons that we use the concept of technoscience.
It was following this path and realizing that the term technoscience should be always seconded by the capitalist adjective that I started using it to refer to contemporary reality.
Okay, so you use the term capitalist technoscience. And I will propose another concept, solidary technoscience. It's clear? Okay. Go ahead.
And on the other hand, by aggregating other foundation, I began to use the term technoscience to refer generally for any time and society to a concept that seemed essential to me to better understand this reality, that of knowledge for the production of goods and services.
My interpretation of what I had read about the history of science and the history of technology led me to the notion that this knowledge has always been a combination of what we today call science, art, witchcraft, technology, religion, beliefs, the result of trial and error of empirical observation, handicraft, animal instinct, etc.
So technoscience is all this together. And you know very, very well that the firms use also religion, handicrafts, animal instinct, and so on. So this is it's not new for you, you know? But you have to explicitate this in order to follow the path of knowledge.
I was forced to recognize that as synthesis, similar to the knowledge for the production of goods and services today in use, the capitalist technoscience, which is interpreted by some authors as a contemporaneous fusion between science and technology and considered a characteristic associated with a specific stage of development of this mode of production, the neoliberalism have always existed.
So there is a current in the STS field that say, no, technoscience is contemporaneous phenomena. And my position, our belief is that technoscience exists since the beginning of the mankind.
Moreover, that what is perceived as a combination of portions of knowledge, science and technology, codified taking advantage of the opportunities opened by the former, was something that was born as a tacit unit since before the capitalism was invented.
So this is also a very important idea that came from authors that wrote papers and books in the 70s, okay?
Considering the reality of capitalism, where the values and interests of the minority that holds the greatest power are so embedded in technoscience engendered by gigantic multinationals, I became convinced that the idea of separation and precedence of science and technology proposed by common sense is not plausible.
Plausible. In social science, nobody proves nothing. We just see if it is plausible or not. So my conclusion about this is that it's not plausible, this kind of separation, okay, between science and technology.
And with it, I discard the notion that science would be primarily generated without values and the interests, and then technology which applied it would be placed at the services of capital, as an orthodox Marxist would say.
So this is an important thing also, because we are fighting with the orthodox Marxists. that don't understand the phenomena as the phenomena really is, okay? Go ahead.
Following this way of thinking, it would be as if the supposedly neutral scientific knowledge would later be contaminated through the development of technology.
So the idea is that the science is neutral, and then this knowledge would be contaminated in the enterprise environment with interests and value. So I need profit, for instance. So this is a value. So that contaminate neutral science when the science entered the firm environment. Please.
With the capitalist values and interests of private property and the exploitation of human labor, and when introduced in the work process, would make possible the extractions of relative surplus value.
So people that is familiar with the Marxist terminology is recognizing some ideas or terms.
I understood how the history of capitalist technoscience began with the expropriation of knowledge that came from the life and frequently family experience of the direct worker.
The Schumacher family, the Taylor, the Smith, the Goldsmith, all these families has a knowledge in the feudalism. Now in the capitalism, this knowledge is expropriated from these families, you know, and is codified, as we will see now.
And that its improvement resulted from the means of production's owner action upon the work process to adjust to production of goods and services to the demands that came from his interaction with consumers and his competitors.
And that, when necessary for reasons of cost, scale, uncertainty, etc., controlled experimentation, systematization, and codification of this cognitive outcome could occur outside the production environment in specialized spaces to return to it with greater efficiency.
So this is the university. This is the university where the proprietary class stock the knowledge that they need. This is the capitalist university. And the codification process is also not neutral, because the codification process involves to impede, to not allow the work class to get this knowledge again. Is understood? Okay.
I noticed that a virtuous circle was trading to be established that encompassed territories other than those of production and consumption, such as the university space, which was apparently little submitted to the capital logic.
Apparently. But in the beginning, in the origin of the university, we can see very, very clear how university was created in order to be a repository of this knowledge, codified and already prepared to impede the access of the work class.
Thus, I was convinced that the trajectory of the capitalist techno-science has nothing to do with seeking the truth through the advance of science, or rely on it, producing with greater efficiency, better and cheaper goods and services through the technological development.
So this is a kind of blasphemy. Blasphemy?
Bless.
Blasphemia? No? It's totally, I'll be, expulsed from the university. No, but they don't do that. I am here, so let's follow. Go ahead.
The emergence and the expansion of a specialized organization, public or private, where I was located, oriented to teaching and research and to receive the children and the good children of the proprietary class were only on the facet of that trajectory.
Okay? So this is the blasphemy.
I also perceived that the estrangement between the knowledge used for the production of goods and services, which in pre-capitalist societies encompassed a wide and varied set, in one hand, and science and technology in the other, is an ideological manipulation performed by capitalism.
Things are becoming hotter and hotter. Ideological manipulation performed by capitalism.
Through it, capitalism was able to naturalize the idea that there was a binomial that expressed an immanent and latent contradiction. On one hand, there was a pure, good, true, and universal science. Science, it was the result of the drive of an infinitely curious man to know a perfect nature.
It's a kind of poetic definition of science and technology.
Very poetic, yes.
No? Poetic, nice. But it's not true. That's the problem.
On the other hand, there was technology that used it for the production of goods and services, but which unethical, that is, exorbiting the capitalist ethics, could be oriented to evil, as the use of nuclear physics to kill people and also to cure cancer.
This is the very well-known example.
A more recent proposition in favor of this argument is that there could be a third type of knowledge necessary for the production of goods and services.
Okay. This is how the concept of innovation is added to the binomial already in the midst of neoliberalism, to convince us that there was a knowledge whose generation could only occur in the company, and that it should be, as it has effectively been happening, the focus of the cognitive policy of the capitalist state.
So innovation is a child of neoliberalism. This could be historically proven. So now the third, conceiving an analytical conceptual framework for the solidary technoscience. Go ahead, please.
The concept I propose, solidary technoscience, a notion that translates the metaphor of cognitive platform for launching the solidary economy, implies a critique that overcomes the concept of social technology used within the Latin American movement of solidary economy.
So this chapter or this section is related to, to fight with the concept of social technology or innovation, social innovation, or responsible innovation, green something. sustainable something. All these are criticized in this section, confronting with the concept of solidary technoscience.
As concepts dealing with issues such as social inclusion imply, and at the same time, denote different perspectives about the best strategy to achieve it. It is inevitable that they will be contended.
Well, I will sort some of the parts, and just to show you the authors that I use, okay? Some of them are Marxists, for instance, Harry Braverman. You know these guys?
No.
Well, you have to read them. Sure.
What else? I mean, what is social science?
Social science?
Yeah. I mean, what is some of the stuff? I don't understand.
You don't know social science?
I don't understand a lot of that stuff.
Oh.
So is that good or bad? What is the conclusion? Is that good or bad?
The conclusion will be your conclusion.
Or I will ask you a question.
Well, you are a paid PhD or something. I also.
Do you use a cell phone?
Okay, let's go on. Let's go on, because cell phone, for sure, I use. Yeah. Take it.
I don't need it.
Well, well, what are you asking me if I use?
This is the result of
Okay, take it.
the result of enterprise.
Oh, don't put this thing, or don't put things in this so crude manner.
It's not crude.
No, it's crude. You know that. No, this is an Apple product.
My friend, everybody's.
I know.
This is the result of capitalism. You're a capitalist. You just don't know it. Everybody.
Well, you are from physics.
No, I'm an engineer. I'm technoscience.
Okay. Bom, Finberg, for instance, André Gors, okay? Vandana Shiva, this was very, very well done. Formulating generic concept of technoscience. How is my time? I have 7 minutes? Okay. In this section, I present step-by-step the generic concept I have arrived at. Okay, let's... go ahead.
The first step, you want me to read it? Sure. The first step is to figure out a work process oriented to the production of goods and services in which, in general, other social actors also act. That is controlled by a specific actor.
This is the work process. People working. There is a person that controls. Okay? That is always, since the beginning of mankind. So I'm trying to formulate a generic concept of technoscience going to the past.
The second step is to assume that this actor will act upon this work process in order to obtain some kind of material benefit, more or better goods or services.
This man is capitalist? This man is capitalist? No. Everybody acts like that. It's okay? Understood?
No.
No?
I don't understand anything.
No, try it. So what I'm saying is that this guy that controls the process will act upon this process in order to get some benefit. What is normal? It's not a capitalist instinct. Everybody do since the beginning of the mankind. So this is an important thing. So this is the second step. The person who controls will act in this work process in order to get a product modification, and that could be appropriate by him. The material result have to be appropriated, because if it is not appropriate, there is no interest in this kind of action upon the work process. Okay? The third step is to understand that if this action is successful, the cognitive outcome obtained will be of special interest for him. So they do this product modification. He could appropriate the material result, all this in the productive space, and then there is some characteristics of the environment, socioeconomic context, and the social contract between states and individuals that permits that this increase in the productivity could be appropriated by this person here. This cognitive outcome, this knowledge for the production of goods and services, is technoscience. So if we change the person here, if you change the kind of work process, if you change the productive space or the socioeconomic context, the characteristics of the result of this outcome, technoscience will be different. So now I have the possibility to, I will sort this also, to formulate this generic concept, the cognitive outcome of the action of a social actor on a work process that he controls. Controls is a key word. And that allows a modification in the generated product that can be appropriated according to his interests.
Bearing in mind the space of production, the space of the social contract, where coercion, act of compelling someone to an action or choice, directly or through ideological mechanism, is an essential element. And the third space, socioeconomic context, ownership of the means of production.
So this is capitalist technoscience. So using all this framework, these concepts, you know, I came to the concept. So please read it.
Capitalist technoscience, the cognitive outcome of the capitalist's action upon a work process that, due to a socioeconomic context, which engenders...
Which is the actor? The capitalist. So, the cognitive outcome of the capitalist action. Well, I'll read. Upon a work process that, and now we have to consider the context, the socioeconomic context, which engenders private ownership of the means of production, and a social agreement which legitimizes an economic coercion exerted by the labor market, and an ideological one imposed by the capitalist state. So there is two kinds of coercion. Gives rise in the productive space to a control. This control is imposed, asymmetric, and cooperation, Taylorist, Toyotist, that altogether provokes a modification in the product that can be appropriate by him. So in this concept, that is a very complicated, complex concept, we have the actor, the work process, the characteristics of the space of production, and the social contract, the question of coercion, that is very important. You know? Okay? And now the concept of solidary economy, solidary technoscience. I am just specifying the generic concept to generate the capitalist or the feudalist or the slave technoscience and also the solidary technoscience. Cognitive outcome of the action of a collective of producers on a work process that, due to a socioeconomic context which engenders collective ownership of the means of production, and a social agreement which legitimizes associativism, which in the productive space gives rise to a particular control, self-management, and cooperation, voluntary and participative, provokes a modification in the product whose material result may be appropriate according to the decision of the collective. So the idea is that we don't have one technoscience, and that if you really want to change the world and to avoid the crisis, the civilizatory crisis that we are facing, we have to understand that it's necessary to change how people work and absorb the idea of technoscience. Okay, could you?
Well, we have left 2 minutes to finish.
Okay,
Well,
so go ahead.
Yeah, to conclude, I would like to indicate 2 more points. The first refers to the fact that the concept of solidary technoscience is as derived from the specification of the generic concept of technoscience may contribute to avoid the Manichaeism of the usual denial of conventional technology or capitalist technoscience.
So we have to reproject, you know, the capitalist technoscience in order to go near to the point where we can use in the solidary economy the solidary technoscience. The second point.
The second point is a criticism I made to the posture of those who, by refusing the neutrality of capitalist technoscience, aspire for another one that could be neutral, free of values and true. Due to this naive perception they expect from those involved in research activities in public institutions, a reactive effort to avoid the infection with private interests.
So this is very common in our university, you know? So I am advising about this.
Cool. The position advocated here is, on the contrary, frankly proactive, consistent with the conception of socio-technical adaptation that is proposed in the contamination of the spaces where technoscience is produced with the values and interests of the social actors who will benefit from its enactment.
So you have to contaminate this kind of spaces in the university, introducing here other values, distinct from the values that generated capitalist.
Okay, this implies an activity of inward awareness of those public institutions conducted by their participants, who defend an alternative style of development. This process will prevent them to dispute the hegemony within these institutions and will place them at the service of the cognitive demands of the solidarity economy.
Okay, capitalist technoscience, very well designed, is the cognitive launching platform of the capitalist economy. Okay, so these are the rocket. Where we are here, doing almost nothing in our universities. Solidarity technoscience, the cognitive platform for the better society we want, is at the Lego stage, as you can see. This is a book, and this is my address. Okay, thank you very much. So let's ask you a question about capitalism, about cell phones. Go ahead.
So you have a cell phone, you have a car, you have electricity, you have internet.
See my coat? No, don't. My coat is very nice, isn't it? Huh? This is very costly. This is Italian.
All right, you don't want to.
No, go ahead. No, sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, I have a cell phone, a car, and so on.
So you're using the products of technoscience that were made. You showed rockets. Yes, they're bad uses of technoscience, and they're good. And we as scientists, when we start in a university, we're not contaminated. We are doing the best we can. And you cannot have technoscience unless you have advanced economy. And the best economies in the world are Boeing, Apple, Google, Microsoft, are capitalistic economies. So you have to have good economies to create good products for all of us. Electricity, water, running, cars, planes. These are technoscience from capitalists, and you're using them.
Do you remember when the Soviet Union put the satellite?
Yes, sure.
Do you remember?
I do.
And Soviet Union was not capitalist.
They are now.
No, but when they put the satellite, they are socialist. And they are producing goods and services. So good and services are not a prerogative of capitalism mode of organization, because the real socialism that have a lot of problems, as you know, and I know also, they produce. So your proposition can be dismantled with the satellite that Soviet Union put.
One satellite, but they never didn't have any other products. Russia buys everything from the West, the chips, the same in China.
Nowadays. No, but I am talking about the 60s. I'm not talking about today. In the 60s, Soviet Union, which is a socialist country, produced a lot of technology and science. Well, if you want to discuss with me about socialism and communism, I studied this for 4 years when I was in Chile. I am very young. I studied the difference between socialism and communism. But but you understand the point.
I do.
Okay. You don't agree, but it's okay.
Okay, your support. Okay, we have time just for one brief question. And
Solidarity Your propose the solidarity economy, how to introduce the solidarity economy in a company. Because the companies are using techno-science, that's the question.
No, the solidarity economy can't be introduced in a firm. It's another economy. You have the firms, the capitalist economy, and then you have the solidarity economy. For instance, I am from the South. I am from Porto Alegre. And we are discussing now with the government the idea of a solidary reconstruction of the Rio Grande do Sul state. Because we see that the capitalist reconstruction will be a disaster because firms don't know how to build a health environment. They don't know. They will reproduce all these wrong things that they did. So we are discussing solidary reconstruction of the state based on solidary economy that is very well organized there in the South, and people like we that is sympathetic with the idea. Professors, scientists, engineers, and so on. So we are trying to get together a task force in order to access to, subsidize with knowledge the process of solidary reconstruction. Okay?
Just a word. Peace engineering is a way to do this in a different manner. And we are here to talk about this. And I know that it's possible. We work together and thinking together. The humanity needs this, needs our one mind, one planet, a new mindset, not an old mindset.
Not a what?
Old mindset, need a new mindset. Marx is old, capitalism is old, socialism is old, communism is old. We need a new ideas.
Yeah, sure. No, I agree totally. And I think that solidary technoscience is a new idea. Nobody put it into action. Socialist countries don't do this kind of adaptation. They don't reproject capitalist technoscience. If you go to a university in the socialist quotes countries, we'll see the same curricula that we have here. It's awful. Okay. It's okay? Thank you. It's you.
Okay, let's resume our workshop. And with great pleasure, I would like to invite Professor Gabriela Castellano. And so she is going to present a talk related to Meninas na Química, Física e Engenharia para liderar, or Girls in Chemistry, Physics, and Engineering to lead development in science. Okay, let's welcome Professor Gabriela with an applause, please. The floor is yours, please.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. Sorry about falta de comunicação no começo. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this project, Project Mafalda. So why this project? Okay, so this is a project that started in 2018, actually. And the reason for this project is basically that women are underrepresented in the STEM areas. We all know that. We can see here. There is 1, 2, and 3 women. And on the other hand, there is a worldwide lack of people in these areas. So, and particularly in Brazil, we have a really big lack of women in these areas. STEM graduates are below 18% in all Brazilian regions. On the other hand, it has been shown by several research that the more women get into STEM areas or areas that have been historically dominated by men, the more the knowledge in those fields expands. And this is actually true for any underrepresented group. So we have been, research has been showing that diversity is important in all areas. And so summary, why more women in STEM is important. So we'll have a larger talent pool that improves the quality of the STEM workforce. Diversity brings new perspectives. Increasing female participation in STEM fields is good business. So the companies have seen that actually it's important to have women to project things that will be used by women. And the same goes again for any other underrepresented minorities or groups. Also, success stories provide inspiration for future generations. So in Brazil, we have had several initiatives, and I can cite particularly this initiative, which was one of the first, that is an initiative by people in Rio Grande do Sul, which is the south state from Brazil. But we have other initiatives. This one is actually an initiative from Unicamp as well, but it's not ours, which is the Meninas Supercientistas. It works in a different way, is a different approach. But how did our project start? So it actually started in 2018 because CNPq, which is one of the most important funding agencies of Brazil, sent this edital, which was a call for projects that would try to incentivize girls to come to the exact areas, engineering, computing, and technologies. So we started our project at the end of 2018. We sent a project for this call. We actually didn't win the call, but we said, no, now that we organize ourselves, let's make it happen anyway. And particularly my institute, the Institute of Physics, decided, okay, I'll pay for it. Let's do it. So the objectives of our project were mainly to encourage high school girls to pursue careers in STEM areas, but also to get undergraduate students, female undergraduate and postgraduate students and postdoctoral researchers from Unicamp, to get them involved in leading the project activities and stimulate them in their own careers and courses, because we see that women tend to drop out of the courses as they progress in the career. So by serving as example, as role models to younger women, this would also incentivize them to stay in the careers. So the trajectory has been, we started actually in 2019 with one public school in the region of Campinas. This is a central public school. In 2020, we moved to another school, and this was because here we had a teacher, a female teacher who was a physics teacher in the school that was very participant in the project. She actually helped to lead the project. And she moved from, and she left the school in the middle of 2019. And we realized that without having a person really engaged inside the school to help us, the project didn't work. So when she left the project, it was really hard to keep the project going. So as she moved to this school in 2020, we moved as well to this school. But then obviously the pandemic started. So we moved all the activities that we could move to online, but it didn't really work much with the girls. So in 2021, we ended up suspending the project. Then in 2022, we went back to the project, and in the middle of this year, one teacher that was at this school in 2019 and had moved as how do you say ensino? Teaching coordinator of this other school, she got in touch and she said, I would like to bring the Mafalda project to our school. So in the middle of, of 2022, we started working with this school as well. Then in 2023, we got this other school here to work in the project. And this year we have four schools that are working with us. So we have been basically increasing one school per year. So what is the project about? What do we do in this project? So basically we have lectures that are given by women professionals. So it's important for us that the lectures and everything, all the activities are conducted by women. So these are given not only by academic professionals, but also from professionals that we get from the industry. We have movie sessions that are sessions basically about movies related to the subject of women in science. We have something that we have called chatting circles. I don't know if it's a good translation, but I'll explain. And workshops, which are the most, the nicest thing of the project, I would say. And so all activities are led by women with aid of mostly women monitors. So we insist that it's important for the girls to see that there are women involved in these things. So this is because representation matters. I know this movie is very old now, but when it came out, I went with my daughter to see it. And it was really nice to finally see a woman kicking asses in the screen. It was really nice. Me and my daughter, we were really, wow, I was happy. And when this movie came out, there were a lot of normal articles saying how important it was that finally Black people saw themselves represented in the screen. So, so what are the lectures? We've had lectures in several subjects, but we incentivize the lecturers not to talk just about what they work, but about their trajectories so that they can be really role models and tell them how did they get there, why did they get there, and all the obstacles they had to get there. So we've had talks in several subjects along these years. These are just some of them. I didn't put all of them because there have been many lectures in the several schools and with several professionals. The movie sessions, we've been showing films like this one here, Hidden Figures, Radioactive. This is about a mathematician in the very old history. Documentaries about Ada Lovelace. There is this movie about women astronauts. This is about coding, an episode of Cosmos, and so on. The chatting circles, basically, we have the students from Unicamp that work in the project that go to the schools. So all these activities are performed in the actual schools. So we have girls from Unicamp that are undergraduate students that go to the schools. When the lecturer goes, they go with the lecturer and they help asking questions afterwards and all of that. The movies, they are them who organize the movies and pass the movies there. And the chatting circles, they choose a subject that they think that would be interesting for the girls in the school and bring the subject. So they have been talking about careers, about the admission exam that we have to get into the university, about Profis. Profis is an undergraduate course that we have at Unicamp. I don't know if someone has talked about it, but it was an initiative of Unicamp. It started about 10 years ago, and is directed to public schools from the region of Campinas. And so all the students that enter this program is a 2-year program that it was kind of to level the knowledge of the people from public schools, because here we've been having a gap that is being ever increasing between private and public schools. So the students get into this, they are chosen from the best students of each public school from Campinas. We have 120 places. And they come and they stay these 2 years, and they have a lot of courses. But the idea is especially to review or to teach them, especially exact sciences. They have courses about everything. They have courses about health and about biology and history. But we know that these courses, people usually, even if they didn't have a good basis in the school, they can catch up easier. But the exact sciences, because it's built block over block, is more difficult. So they have these courses there, and after these 2 years, they can choose any course. They are classified by grades, obviously, and they can choose any course in Unicamp. We have special places in every course at Unicamp for the egresses of this course. So we've had students that talked about the course, how you get into this course. We had a girl from the programming marathon, the feminine programming marathon, talking about it. Some students talking what it is like to be in a university. There are a lot of people in these public schools that they have no idea of what it is, a public university in Brazil, how it works, how you get in, what it is like to be here, the opportunities that you have. They don't know that if you come here, you can have a grant to pay for your food, a grant to pay for where you're going to live. So then trajectory of some girls, how to come from the public school to Unicamp, the robotics team, a student from physics, she likes programming in Arduino, so she took Arduino and taught the girls how to program. So all these things, the students from here, they chose to talk about that, and they brought these subjects to the girls in the schools. And finally, we have the workshops. So the workshops, in the workshops, the girls come here to Unicamp, and they stay for half a day here, either in the morning or in the afternoon. It depends on the school and on their schedule. And we had very different subjects. So we have this rocket launch, which is a workshop that is given by our science museum here, where they build the rockets, and then they fly the rockets, and then they measure the distances and the angles and everything, and why a rocket flew more than another. They have electromagnetic phenomena. This is at the Physics Institute, where they actually build a transmitter radio with PET bottles, and they here with a, I forgot the name of this generator of Van Halen. Yes, Van der Graaf generator. A probabilistic thinking workshop, which is at the Mathematics Institute. Medical image acquisition and processing. Here at the Physics Institute, we have a medical physics laboratory, and we have like this doll here that has an actual skeleton inside it. So you can make an X-ray image and actually see the skeleton. We had a weather station building also at the Science Museum. We've had a nanomaterials workshop that was at the Chemistry Institute. Game programming in cell phones here at the Electrical Engineering. Electronics also here at the Electrical Engineering. And usually our last workshop is a visit to the synchrotron that we have here in Campinas, which is very impressive. You can't see much here, but I don't know if you've been, but it's really an impressive place to visit. So these are some movies that I brought from the. This is from the electronics of workshop, and this is from the rocket launch. Let me see if I can. Well, here you just can see the rocket flying, and they are building here some circuit. Okay, so what's the team? So the whole thing started with this student. This was a physics student who actually called all the women professors of the physics institute, and she said, aren't you going to apply to that call from CNPq? So she was the one that started it. So these are the people from the Physics Institute who started actually the project. This was the only guy who participated. This is the teacher from the first school that was always a partner in the project and very engaged. Professor Paula from here, Professor Daniela from the Institute of Chemistry, and Professor Laura from the Institute of Mathematics. And this is a student, is a postgrad student that was at the beginning. This is Carolina Zeri from the synchrotron. But we've had a lot of students participating in the project. They work in 5 fronts. So in the lectures, the movies, the chatting circles, the workshops, and also the social media of the project. And these are some of the students that participated, but we've had a lot of students. I didn't find pictures of all of them to put here. So what do they do? So in the lectures, they have to assist with the organization, they have to contact the speakers, they have to accompany the speakers to the school and help to lead the post-lecture discussion. And they have to make photographic video records to publicize the project. In the movie sessions, they have to organize, they have to choose the movie to be shown. They have to check things like, can the school actually has equipment to show the movie and all of that. Usually they don't have internet access, or sometimes they have to download the movie and take it there in a computer. I ask them to watch the movie in advance before they go there so that they can bring questions in the day to promote a discussion. And they have to go to the school, organize the session. Sometimes they make popcorn for the students as well. And make the photographic and video records. In the chatting circles, they prepare and choose the topics to be discussed. And they go to school and make the circle happen. And if possible, they recruit friends and colleagues from STEM courses to participate in the circle. And they make photographic video records. And finally, in the workshops, they have to assist with the organization, contact the lecturers or researchers that are responsible for teaching the workshops, prepare the authorizations that school students must sign in order to leave school, dialogue with staff to hire buses and get snacks for the girls, and accompany the workshops on the day and act as monitors and make the records. And finally, social media, they have to manage the project's social networks, and they have to generate content which is basically either to announce the project activities or to publicize the project using records of activities that have already been carried out. Or sometimes these topics of interest to the project, some women that won a prize in STEM or things like that. These are some results. So this actually is up to 2022 when we published an article in an outreach magazine. So up to 2022, we had this number of participants from each school, and we had performed all these workshops, talks, movie sessions, and conversation circles. This is the number of students from Unicamp that participated up to 2022. So we had some postgraduate students. and postdoc students at the beginning of the project. The undergraduate students actually started working in 2022, in part because of something that we have here that is called curricularização da extensão, which is that we need now the undergrad students to participate in outreach activities. And these are some punctual results. So these are some students that actually got back to us afterwards to tell us that they actually got into some course related to STEM areas. So this girl that participated in 2019, she got into Engenharia Mecatrônica at USP. I didn't write here, but this is the University of São Paulo. This one, here. This one got into Ciência da Computação, also in two public universities. This one to physics at a public university in Santa Catarina, and so on. So we haven't been able to follow much the trajectory of the girls. Here I bring some results that I caught, but they are not completely accurate from up to now. So up to now, we've had more than 300 high school students, girls from public schools that have participated or are participating this year in the project. We've had more than 50 undergrad students from Unicamp. Some of the girls at one of the schools created a comic book about women scientists in 2020. Other girls that participated in the project, they participated in the International Science and Technology Exhibition in 2022 and won third place. And these that we have several former participants that are currently pursuing degrees in STEM. But we only have notice of a few of the participants. Now we've had more than 300 high school, although from these more or less 120 are now participating, so they haven't finished yet. But from the other 180, maybe we have information about 25. This is just a testimony of one of the girls that is studying here at Unicamp now. She got into the course that is called Course 51, which is the first years to get into physics, mathematics, or related areas. And she says that she learned about and fell in love with this course in 2022 through the Mafalda project. Without it, she wouldn't have got it into the university. These are two girls that participated in the project in 2019, in the first year. They are twins, and they both got in courses. Here they are talking, but it's kind of a long video of about 4 minutes, and it's in Portuguese, so I'm not gonna play it. But they talk about how important it was, the project for them. They didn't think about all the possibilities that they had in STEM as women. So one of them got into computer science, and the other, I think, into mechatronic engineer or something like that in good universities in Brazil. So what are the difficulties we've had with this project? Well, getting financial resources is also difficult. Along all these years, we've applied to several calls, and we never got. And I think it's because we always worked with very few students at a time. So it's a big project with a lot of resources, but it works with like 30 girls from each school at a time. So it's not, now we are trying to increase this by working with more schools, but so we need financial resources. The most expensive part of it is the buses that bring the schools to Unicamp to do the workshops. The snacks is not very expensive, and also the transport from the undergrad students to go to school. So we pay for that. This is not expensive, but it's kind of hard to pay with university money. This we can pay now with university money, these two things, but this one we cannot at the moment. Coordinating all the Unicamp students, all the activities talk to responsibles in each school, mediate lecturers, find lecturers from companies. These are all things that have been hard. I've been coordinating the project so far pretty much on my own. Now I have a PhD student that is helping me, and she's really helping me a lot because I was going crazy with 4 schools. So we've had problems like public schools have some obligations that are not previously scheduled. So sometimes we have a workshop and they cancel 1 week before, and we hired the bus, we hired everything, the whole thing, and they have to cancel because the Ministry of Education says that no, this week you have the Provão Paulista. They don't tell them in advance when this is going to happen. They say this is going to happen this month, but they don't know when. So sometimes they have things like that. And so we have to cancel these things that we have hired in advance. And the most difficult thing has been really keeping track of the participants so that we can better evaluate if the project has been having good results. So some conclusions is that we have punctual results and feedback from some people involved. So pretty much everybody that has talked to us, that has been involved, loves the project. So the pedagogical coordinators, directors of participating schools, parents of students that have talked to us, and some of the students that participated. So this indicates that the project appears to be achieving its main goal regarding high school students. I did a brief survey with the students that had participated in the project up to last year, and they all were very positive about the project and about how it contributed to their formation as citizens. And so in the future, we plan to improve participants tracking and include more schools. These are the social media of the project, and this is it. Thank you.
So generally speaking, how frequently do they visit the school? And are these events during class time, or is it after class, during lunch? When are they?
Is every week. So I forgot saying that, but 1 week they have, for example, a lecture. Another week they have a movie session. The following week they have chatting circle. And the following week, when we started the project, they had 8 workshops per year. It was 1 per month. But then we realized that, especially at the end of the semester, it was complicated for them and for the students here. So last year they had 6 workshops per year, 3 each semester. And this year, in order to include more schools, we reduced to 2 workshops per semester. So they have 1 in March, 1 in May, 1 in August, and 1 in October. So like that, we were able to include other schools because then the course will be more or less the same for us. And so we increase the other activities. So they circle. Each week they have 1 activity, but the activities are all 8 months of the year. It depends on the school whether they are during the class period or not, but 2 of these schools are integral period schools, which is something that is starting to happen here in Brazil, but most of the schools are only half period. They only work half of the day. 2 of the schools we have here work the whole day. When we started the project, they had to have elective disciplines. I don't know if you say like that, but now this has changed, so they don't have elective disciplines anymore. So we entered like an elective discipline, and they spent 1.5 hours, which is like two classes of 2-hour class hours in the school. Now, in one of the schools is working as like a science club thing. One of these schools. In the other schools that were half period, we started doing it on the contra period. But then we had a high evasion. We started with like only 15 students, but in the second semester, we only had 3 that went all the way. So now we put the activity substituting one of the classes. Because unfortunately, public schools here, they have a lot of vague hours because the teachers have a lot of health problems and they don't go and they don't have another person to substitute. So it's not very terrible that they are occupying these hours. So now they are working all in class time, and they work every week of the year. No, because private schools don't have that sort of problem. Now, the difference here between private and public schools is huge. Is very, very big. You can see here, I've been teaching these students of the Profis. I teach physics for the students of the Profis. I've been teaching them for the last 4 years. And when I first started teaching them, I thought that the idea was to review the physics of high school. And then after a month I was teaching, the students came to me and said, we never had physics. Half of the students had never had physics because we don't have enough physics teachers. And so a lot of them, they finish high school and they never saw physics in their lives. So it's very different from private schools don't have that problem. So a lot of public schools, they had very little math, almost not physics at all, very little chemistry. Sometimes they have biology teachers teaching physics, for example. So it's very different. And because we are a public university funded by the public, we have been concentrating on public schools. We think it's... Yes, they won't have a project as nice as this one, obviously. And
that's okay.
And it's a shame. But we cannot. We don't have enough resources to attend all the people that would like to, and so we have to choose. And
okay, thank you.
Very simple. Why Mafalda?
Because we actually lots of people suggested different names, and we did a voting, and this one won. But Mafalda is obviously an icon of everything, of women strength, and
she's
so.
I'll explain to what my colleagues. It's a cartoonist, Kino from Argentina, made a tremendous impact worldwide.
Yeah, he's a.
So Mafalda is the rebel.
Yeah, he's the rebel. He's worried about world issues in general, and about he's very left wing, and is very popular. So, yeah, she questions capitalism, sure. So, but we thought it was a really good representation on what we wanted to do. So.
I have a question. I don't know how it's working here, but this is really a very difficult problem. We're trying to do the same in the US. But in the US, we go to our alumni, our alumnus, to give us money with this one. Have you tried to do this? Because sometimes there are some very successful alumni that have a lot of money that are very interesting. And some of them are women that have given us a lot of money to do this activity. So you don't rely on the state, because usually you're not going to get very much money from the state.
The thing is that Unicamp is only now starting to track their alumni. It's a very new program. I think it started last year, at the end of last year, actually. So we don't really have that relation. Also, incredibly enough, in the previous government, we found out that a lot of people that had actually studied in public universities was against them, which is something really hard to understand. But we had this really big division, politics division between left and right in the past government. And a lot of people started looking at public universities as places where not serious places, although they studied and they got their degrees here. And so and these are the people with the money. But the main problem, I think, is that obviously not all are like that, but I think that the main problem is that we haven't had this costume, a habit of tracking X students. So we're starting this just now, semester ago, last semester. But yes, it's a good idea.
I think you have a very useful tool inside of the school. We have Innova, and we have also the companies that is called daughters of Unicamp. And it's possible they have Innova have this centralized this for before 2018, 2000. I don't know. I think around 2018-19, it starts to build this environment. Is daughters of companies, daughters of Unicamp. I believe if your group contacted them, then they can contact this company. I'm thinking because I am a company that is daughter of Unicamp. I can go to help you with some lecture or with some discussion in a theoretical and experimental way. We can, for instance, come with our product. Each company has some product that is commercial. Then they can go to the school with this product, not to sell to the school, but to support and to show how important it is. For instance, I have a meteorological station in my project list. We can do a very nice lecture from physics, talking about this wind, temperature and humidity, solar radiation, and rain, and connected this with water, with this cycle. We already did it last year in a private school on the group objective in the state of São Paulo. It's very interesting. It's growing up to us also. And I think if you go together with Innova, you can have a list. Perhaps we have 100 companies and 3 or 4 of you. But it's okay.
Okay.
It's not money, but it's support, a technical and personal support. The other side, the basic schools from the state, they normally are financed by the private sector. By the mayor. The mayor is the man that manages the money of the school.
Not of the high schools. The high schools is a state. But we work with high schools. Yes, it's the state.
Then we need to go to the government.
Yeah, the elementary schools, they have some money for like buses and things like that, but the high schools don't. We have already talked about that with the schools. Regarding the Innova thing, yes, it's a good idea. The only thing is that at the moment, I am the only one who is actually coordinating the project. And I also have my research, which is completely different from this. And I can't do everything. Just working with 4 schools is to drive anyone crazy. It's a lot of people, I coordinate a lot of students, and it's difficult. So, but yes, it's a good idea. I'll try at some point. Yes. I don't think so, but I'll try.
Let's try. And no, we have all
Yes. Yes.
I learned it during my life.
Mhm.
You don't communicate. That's my fantastic course.
Thank you.
So congratulations for your project. Is representation, right?
Mhm.
And I would like to know about other problems for girls, especially in public schools, like violence.
No, we are only focusing on one thing here, which is really the original idea was to attract girls to pursue STEM careers, but really what we end up doing is that actually showing them that Unicamp exists, because there are a lot of students from public schools that they don't know that Unicamp exists or what is Unicamp. We have here a very important hospital at Unicamp that is known everywhere because it's a public hospital, and a lot of people think that Unicamp is the hospital. A lot of people, they don't know that there is actually a university that you don't have to pay to study in it. There are a lot of people that don't know that. So just taking this information to the schools is already a lot. So they understand that they can come here, study without paying, and also they can get paid to study here, in the sense that they get grants to at least support them while they are here, and they won't have to work. So this is the main thing that we have been doing. But unfortunately, we don't have enough personnel or enough resources to attack all these other problems. Yeah, we know that all these things exist. When I have been to the schools to talk with the directors and pedagogical coordinators, yes, you learn about a lot of problems, and but we don't have enough people to work, and also we couldn't assess all the psychological stuff because we are not formed to do that. We're not, so we can only look at a very tiny piece of all the problems that our public schools have, unfortunately.
So just a comment. In my vision, it's not only my vision, but there are two kinds of education in Brazil as an inheritance from our colonial origin, from the colonial process that we suffered. So we have an education for the people who are going to serve, and education for the people who are going to lead. And we have, this remains until today. And for example, in the public schools, we have stronger landmarks from this inheritance, from this colonial inheritance. And the private school is completely different. People who are in the students who are in the private school are being educated to lead. And our university is an example for that. Most part of the people here are in other conditions in our society. So most part of the people who are here are being trained to lead. And so in my vision, in our context, it's, an alternative of education is maybe education outside of the school, where we have more freedom to keep contact with the people in other conditions, in more subservient situations that can be also motivated to think. Because in my vision, the main problem is how to think, how to use our minds for the science, for the arts, for example. It's not permitted for all the people in our condition. It's a quite different condition from the North Hemisphere. South Hemisphere has another condition.
Argue there, but
yes, I agree that we have a gender condition nowadays, but it's stronger here in South Hemisphere. It was just a comment. Thank you very much.
I have a project in Limeira. I'm from Unicamp. I'm from Faculdade de Tecnologia em Limeira. I have a project to with the public schools, and then I have my my project they call SciSnet, all my students, the site works on that project. We prepare material to go to public schools to teach them, but our subject always sustainable energy. And then I like very much your work. And I want to know what you do, where are you, to meet you.
We have other projects at the Institute of Physics with public schools as well that do different things. It's because this is the oldest project we have in that sort of thing. But since this curricularização da extensão started, we have a project that's called Fisiqueira, which mixes physics and capoeira. I don't know if you know capoeira is a Brazilian art form. It's a kind of a mix between a game, a fight, and a dance. And it involves music. So there are a lot of things about the movement and the musical instruments that you can use to teach physics. So this is one project. We have another one that's called Math for You, which is to reinforce mathematical concepts. So the students the Unicamp students go to the schools, they use the Khan Academy, and they give reinforced lessons of mathematics. These are the main ones. We also have a project that is to form teachers of elementary school with some very basic science, mainly physics experiments that are really easy to perform and that are good to engage the children. These are the ones that I remember right now, but so yes, we're trying several different things related to public schools. We have another project that is called Rad School that is about teaching about radiation and so on.
Very nice, you. I don't do very much like you because I have another kind of research. Fine. It is my another research.
Mm-hmm.
In Libya is an extension.
Mm.
People work on that like an extension.
Yes, all this is extension. My research has nothing to do with this.
More questions? We are a little bit advanced in time, but at 11:30 we have Professor Tanya to present her talk.
During the deck, we have some chapters from IEEE.
Mm-hmm.
And IEEE has a group called WIN.
Yes, I know.
I think that here in fact right now, there's no such group.
There was at the time.
Yes.
Yes.
And in this, I get money for workshops. There's not a lot of money, but it can help. So I'm part of one of these chapters, the microwave chapter, and we will have a grant for $500 for a workshop related to women in science. So I think that there's a group that I think it was related to Paula.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Paula is my colleague she participates in this project, obviously. And so you can talk to Paula and then she can talk to me because we have been working closely in this project. So. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay.
Professor Google personally
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, thank you. So.
Let's start. My talk today is about peace engineering and about the importance of peace engineering ambassadors. It's a new approach. And first of all, I apologize for my English. If you don't understand anything, ask me, please. And this idea came from the possibility to train a new mindset and to understand what is peace and what is engineering. And this is a way that we can start a new process. And no, thank you. To do this, I will present these approaches, the century challenges that we have, the definition of peace and engineering, and the innovative approach for the peace and sustainability, and the peace engineering ambassadors and training mentorships. I will ask for your participation now, not to read, but to make a simple exercise. And I will ask it for you all stand. Yes. And do this with your hands. Good time. We can call this brain breaks. It's a small presentation, but this can bring a new movement and energy in the room. And for you, we need to understand what we are living in this world, what happened with us as mankind. The destructions of your natural habitats and the scarcity of resources is a problem that we have now. The engineering is suffering this problem, and there is a lot of wars because of that. The privacy violations, bias, and discriminatory effects. This is for industrial revolution problems, the AI problems, and you need to face these problems that is increasing in a way that you can imagine. We never imagined what happens now. The social inequality and conflicts. This is raising a lot because of these two problems, and the conflicts is amazing. We have conflicts, internal conflicts, societal conflicts, familiar conflicts, global conflicts, and we need to do something to change this. But what peace is important, but what it is peace? We have this concept about global peace that you understand better. There's a lack of war and violence between nations and cooperative international relationships. We have a law of war, law of peace, and we have some agreements that we, as a nations, we don't respect anymore. Peace engineering works on social peace. This is the basic concept of of peace engineering. Harmony with communities and absence of conflict. This is the idea. And I bring here today the inner peace. We need to work with inner peace. Without a personal sense of calm and contentment, we don't reach a social peace and we don't reach global peace. The engineering means this concept I bring here, 3 important aspects and words to represent what is important in peace engineering: creativity, technical knowledge, and practical skills. These 3 characteristics are changing, and our students need to develop this kind of characteristics. The creativity is a problem in the university in these days. The technical knowledge is always a problem. And practical skills is something that we need to develop too. So the new mindset of peace engineering is the idea of one planet, one environment, one chance. And for this, we needed to organize base with technological foundation, social foundation, emotional foundation, because we need all these things. Without technology, we don't reach any transformation. Without social skills, we don't understand what is justice. And without emotional foundation, we don't understand what you want as humanities. And this, as engineering institutions endeavors to adapt, the primary focus is on the quality of learning experience. And I bring here the long life learning, the critical thinking, and the problem solving. This is the characteristics that is important to develop. So let's talk about peace engineering based towards training and mentorship. This idea comes from another idea called garbage ambassadors, like something like that, from global institutions. And I looked this idea, and I think this is a really well-organized idea. And I took some important points and bring here to talk about you and discuss this. And I divide in 3 models: introductions to peace engineering, tools and techniques in peace engineering, leadership and advocacy in peace engineering. And there's abilities that we need to basically represent. And so this is where we are as peace engineering in the moment. And we have in this moment the IFIS and ISTEC Institute organizing this movement. And the University of New Mexico is the important player. And there is another ideas, particularly with this launch in Latin America. And I hope this is a really nice idea to bring synergy and transform the world that we are living today. This idea of this framework to integrate emotional, technological, and social dimensions is paramount for the advancement of peace engineering. And I would like to share with you this program and discuss this and develop this together, because it is a way to understand what you want like human beings, and what we need in this society to work in a way that we bring some happiness and equality and everything that we know that is possible, that we are fighting for. This is we have some works in the recent works, and I would like to share with you. And if you like, we are Ramiro and I just finish a book chapter, and I would like to share with you and about peace engineering and this foundations. Can you put the IFIS and the link? So my presentation is basically this. It's a short one. And if you want to share yours idea, I'm open. Thank you.
Thank you for your talk. And I have also another comment here. You spoke about creativity as part of the peace engineering. And I would like to share an example for the music history. Mozart was a brilliant composer, and he achieved a job in the Austrian court as a composer. But he was very frustrated with his job because the creativity he had was constrained because the court had some codes, had some specific mind about music, and his creation was constrained, was limited in that context of the court. So he decided to quit that job, and he decided to be an independent composer. What brought him a lot of problems and difficulties, and this condition of independent composer was solved just in this following century with Beethoven, for example. And I'm using this example because in my vision, we have some things similar concerning creativity in engineering here in our time. And I think it's a link at what Professor Danilo pointed us this morning. Some conditions we have in the contemporary world constrain the creativity inside the engineering. What I want to mean about that, some conditions, some scenarios are maybe hidden in the engineering education. It's difficult to talk about some conditions, social conditions, during the engineering courses. And so the creativity that should be incentivized for solutions, for social solutions, most part of the time are not. And so this vision, this enlarged vision, could be part of this inner vision, this inner peace condition that you you talked about this morning. This was my comment. Thank you very much.
Please, initiatives. Yes. Please, yes. This is the address that you can understand what is the project. You can go down. There's some explanation here, and you can assess and understand more what is this project is. But, yes. Some presentations, and there is in the UNM page, university and about minor programs. That is very interesting to assess too. So this is my presentation. I hope you enjoyed, and then let's start it. Thank you.
Results of that I'll share with you because you need to incorporate. Okay? We'll work together.
Can I say something? So today we'll be hearing a lot of ideas, etc. But the reality is that there are two universities. When a student comes to our university here, we teach science, and technology. And that's what we care as engineering. But there's another university there, is life. And today with the internet, with all the social media, these young folks are getting affected maybe more than their professors. So this is a new thing that we didn't have years ago. Before you had to get a book from the library. Now nobody gets a book. They all get PDF files. Everything is electronic. So we have to compete with this now. And they're stronger, better teachers than us. Keep that in mind. That's why we're having all these difficulties.
And on top of that, you have to add disinformation. This is the problem.
Okay.
That's why in my talk, I really stress verifiable, trusted data, because the number one problem that we have in the world right now is disinformation. That's two. So we have to combat that. And now,
Yes.
he said, we don't read books. Students, I don't know if here they go to the library.
But if you need to have more concentrated students to understand what is this problem is, and the capacity of organize the mind is a challenge. And we started at these brain breaks are work that some universities are doing now with the nearly students and childs, and they are reaching an amazing challenge in the way they talk and perceive the world. And this is important. we need to, this new mindset. The world is not the same. And 10 years is an you need to face this. This is the real problem. I think this we have a huge a necessity of quick, really in a way that you can change some mindsets. And I feel that when we are not understanding where the world is coming, and this new vision need to be constructed, need to be designed in a way that the students understand. Maybe a solution, but it's not only knowledge, it's what they want to do with this knowledge. They needed to transform this world with this knowledge. And they have difficulty to take this knowledge and put in another sense. This is the challenge. Now we are trying to organize something. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This is the last talk, our workshop. Indeed, this 3 days have been very exciting, but very illustrative as well. So there are several presentations here where discussing different aspects of what is in this the theme of this workshop was education, society, and technology. Okay. In fact, this workshop was a kind of brainstorm to gather lots of informations, and then we need to digest them. Okay. And to me, we are in fact facing a lot of challenges, and these challenges are, of course, are embedded in education, society, and technology. So in education, I think we need really to encourage scholars, faculty members to study seriously what is going on. So we need, for instance, our students, they come with a different vision. So we feel this as professors. They are not the same as our students came few years ago, 5 years, 6 years ago. And of course, you compare with our generation, it's completely different. And some professors get frustrated. They say, well, these students are useless. Yeah, they don't know anything. If I talk about something, they don't know. This happens. I think all the time. we need to recognize that these students, they are not stupid. They are no, they came equipped with new tools. They, of course, perhaps they don't have the same abstraction skills we had in the past, because we needed to develop that, because we didn't have games, we didn't have other tools. They are used to do that. They were born inside this digital world. We didn't. We needed to develop other capabilities. And the way engineering was taught at that time was different. It was adapted to that time. In fact, we teach engineering exactly as in the 60s and the 70s. Never have changed. This illustration, our colleague from Mauá, Marcelo Nims, about the guitar, this is the way was designed engineering teaching in the 60s. It was a revolution at that time, and this revolution was encouraged because of the space exploration. At that time, it was a movement to modernize engineering teaching. And the output of that was all the books, the classic books of the 60s, 70s, and we still follow that direction. So we need really to change. We need to, but these changes, in my view, we need to do that scientifically, not empirically. This is what I see. I see a lot of trials, but not with a solid scientific support. So we need the scholars to really study this. And I know there are some groups working seriously on that. So we need to interact with them. Here at Unicamp, in our School of Education, there are groups working on that. So we are approaching them. So we need to interact with them, okay, to understand better. To me, is a key point to understand better this new generation, to work with them in a more effective way. I know they are very talented. They have a lot of things that we can learn from them, and together we can do fantastic things. We can even go farther, much farther than we used to do on this, following this, our status quo teaching. I think this is my view. Yeah, to me, I'm being always fascinated by education. Even in the beginning of my career, I supervised a thesis in the School of Education. I think the third PhD thesis I supervised here at Unicamp was in education. I was very much involved with the IEEE Education Society. Even I organized an international conference in Rio de Janeiro in '99 with the Education Society. Yeah, but then I stopped, more or less suspended, I should say, in these kinds of activities. But now I think we need to really reconsider that. We need to get involved, to get engaged. Please, Professor Renat.
I think that's interesting to combine what we are saying with you said some moments ago about the future. You said we don't know where the world is going to. We educate people to prepare them for the future. That's the point. Nobody educates someone to go to the past. We prepare for the future. But the future is something that have to be constructed by us. Each one of us has an idea of the future. I have my future. For instance, he has another idea of the future. If you don't, if you are not able to put basic consensus about what we want in relation to the world in the future, we cannot educate people. We are not able to educate people if you don't agree about the future. So it's so simple, the question. We have to discuss which future we want to build. What will be Brazil in 20 years, in 30 years? We have to discuss this. If you don't do this, we are maintaining this chaos in our educational system. Without project, without, you know.
I'm going to challenge you. At the beginning, I said I do a lot of referencing to the National Academy of Engineering, Science, and Medicine. I really follow the Nobel laureates. There's a forum of all the Nobel Prize winners, and there's a forum of all the scientists. That's the UN, okay? Everybody has agreed with this information is the threat, and we have a magic date that we're not really even thinking yet. There's a magic date called 2030, where we're going to start hitting the point of no return. Some people said that we already are in that place because of these storms that we're getting. All of a sudden, they're violent, unexpected. What happened in Rio Grande do Sul and all that. That's 2030, okay? 60, so it's what, 6 years? The problem, but when we think in years, oh, a year is 12 months, we got time. Change the sampling. We got 65 months. There's no way we can educate and prepare unless we change. There's a data of all the Academy of Science, Education, the European saying, academia has failed. We cannot produce the talent. If you're going to do research, you're going to innovate, create companies, all that. PhD takes what, 4 years? An undergrad here takes what, 5 years? 5 years out of 6 gone. You're going to do train masters and PhD? We got a problem. So that's my date. That's my future. What happens after that, I'm going to be gone.
Yeah. Professor Gretley? Yeah, well, I think, yeah, in fact, we need to think about the future, but the future also has is very wide. So we can talk about long-term future, near future, and so I think there are some challenges that they urge that we need to really to act. Yeah. And they are almost obvious that we need to do that. Yeah. But of course, this is something, this is a theme for a very long discussions. Perhaps we need some supply of energy, like caipirinhas or something like that. But yeah.
I want to thank you
Uh-huh.
for organizing this. This is a good start. We got to start somewhere. Thank you for inviting us. Thank all of you for being here. have another event, we're planning here. You all need to be working network. That's it. And not do it alone. You know,
Mhm.
very far interested, of course.
Mhm.
So I want to really thank you for inviting us. Let's start back here. Let's do something. Can't just stay with talk, right? Projects. So I think Jim was very concrete yesterday. He's here to talk.
Mhm.
And you guys have access to those funds that we do not have. Let's work together. That's the message. And
Definitely.
we will go.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for all your presence here, your contributions, all of them very valuable, for sure. And we are going really to take into account this, and we are committed seriously, really, to keep going. We are going to start here in Niso School a group that this group is going to work for 6 months, with some professional aid as well. So we are going to hire also a company to help us in different aspects of the media or the approach, etc. But the idea is to have a proposal, okay, for for changes in our curriculum here. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and let's now be prepared for our lunch, and we hope that in the future we gather again and really put our foot forward and to build out this network. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.